It is crazy that exactly 4 years ago, I made the leap and I moved from California all the way over to Puerto Rico. I showed up in Puerto Rico exactly 4 years ago with 2 suitcases and I knew absolutely nobody. I had visited 3 weeks prior and honestly, I didn't really enjoy my visit. I actually forced myself to move to Puerto Rico. I told myself, you're gonna figure it out. It might just be a 3-year thing, but here I am 4 years later, still in Puerto Rico, and I absolutely love my life, and I actually see myself in Puerto Rico for a really long time. So in today's video, I'm gonna be going over some specific topics and just giving you my experience of what life is like there. I'm gonna be going over the people, housing, work, business, jobs, just the nature, the weather aspect of Puerto Rico, the safety, the food, cost of living, traffic, and healthcare. So when it comes to people, Puerto Rico has absolutely attracted just extremely unique, intelligent people that have had some pretty crazy life experiences. Everyone is just so open and willing to share. And what I like about Puerto Rico is that I always feel like I am the least intelligent person in like almost every single room that I walk into. So you just meet like a very specific and very interesting caliber of people, and people are really open and willing to collaborate with you. So like if you're someone that wants to come to Puerto Rico and like expand your business, like get something new started, like it's really easy. I haven't tried specifically myself, but I just see it unfold in front of me. There's always an opportunity and someone that's willing to, you know, back your project, be a business partner with you. So that's one thing that I really like about Puerto Rico. I have met exceptional people that I will be friends with for an entire lifetime, and that's what makes Puerto Rico so special. That's what has just solidified my want to be there for an extended period of time. I will always have friends in Puerto Rico if I ever decide to move anywhere else, but the people aspect is this massive value that some people might not consider when moving there. And what's also really cool about Puerto Rico is that it's really actually easy to meet people. So there's the WhatsApp groups. People are just really open and willing to invite you, to just be open to make new friends. So that was one thing that I found very unique about Puerto Rico. Like I can't imagine moving anywhere else and having such an easy time when it comes to meeting people. So if you're watching this video, you are probably interested in the Puerto Rico tax program. And there's a lot of people out there I know that are very interested in all ways to save on taxes. So I want to introduce to you today iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital is a cryptocurrency IRA. You can actually also invest in precious metals. And what's really great about iTrust Capital is that they charge $0 monthly when it comes to any fees on your IRA, and anything that you trade within your iTrust Capital account actually is a non-taxable event. And they have a wide variety of different cryptocurrencies that you can actually invest in on their platform. So you have until April 15th to make that max contribution to your IRA. So you know, you can do a traditional IRA, you can also do a Roth IRA. So it's just in time to check out iTrust Capital. I have a link down below where you can actually earn $100 free in Bitcoin when you sign up. The next thing I want to cover when it comes to life in Puerto Rico is housing. So I've actually never paid more than $1,000 a month when it comes to housing, but I have lived in very simple places, but I also have lived in places that are great locations. So you know, I don't have much experience when it's, you know, life living out in Dorado Beach, which you're looking at probably a minimum of $20,000 a month, depending on what kind of housing you're looking at. That is definitely something out of my range. I'm not willing to spend that much monthly. But when I first moved to Puerto Rico, I was terrified to buy real estate. Hurricane Maria had just happened. But the truth of the matter is that was actually the perfect timing. Now, as I reflect back, I realize, okay, anytime I think it's like a scary time to invest, maybe it's just the right time. So I actually enjoy renting in Puerto Rico. I don't have any plans to purchase any property. But what's great about Puerto Rico is that if you're someone that's looking for like a, you know, $500 a month place, like where I'm from in California, small little studios don't really exist. It's mainly just regular houses, you know, like 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses that are your option. But in Puerto Rico, you actually have such a big variety of different living situations. So if you're not picky and you want something as low as, you know, $500, you can actually find that. I feel super fortunate with the place that I currently have. I know places like that are hard to find. I currently pay $1,000 a month. I have a roommate, she pays $500 because I have 2 of the bedrooms, but housing has absolutely become a challenge. But what I've learned is that you kind of just have to do a lot of work yourself, use classificados, use Facebook Marketplace. You can try to get a realtor, but it seems like you still have to do a lot of work at the end of the day. So work, business, and jobs. Getting anything done in Puerto Rico is really challenging. I would definitely recommend like a more of a simplistic lifestyle and minimize as much as you can when it comes to just variables in your day-to-day life. So it's kind of like 2 approaches. You could take the minimalist approach, not have too much going on, enough where you can handle and it's like you're not gonna hate your life. But if you have a lot going on, you should probably have a Puerto Rican assistant that can just help you guide the way. It will make your life so much easier when it comes to anything business related. When it comes to jobs, it would probably be a really challenging place to find a job if you do not speak Spanish. I've never tried to get a job in Puerto Rico. When it comes to business, you're gonna experience just more hoops that you have to jump through that you probably aren't used to when it comes to the States. Everything's more complicated. Nothing makes sense when it comes to just different government agencies, departments, things like that. When it comes to work, Puerto Rico, in my opinion, and I've heard this from others, in my opinion, it's a really hard place to be productive. But I've also heard people have the opposite experiences. Like when you first move there, and if you haven't met a lot of people yet, you can be really productive and super focused on your work. But if you live like in San Juan, I've always found it extremely difficult to be productive. It's like the ocean's there, the mountains are just a 30 to 40 minute drive away. There's so much beauty. You just want to be outside. You have FOMO if you spend too much time inside because you just know how much is going on outside and how many social events are constantly happening. So I have found it very challenging to be productive in Puerto Rico from the beginning of time since I got there. So now I just have a new priority, and that new priority is to just have fun. But when it comes to just like business and tax incentives, there's tax incentives like across the board, especially when it comes to real estate. There's excellent tax incentives. It's something that I've considered, but then again, like it comes with, I feel like I would need an assistant to successfully get that done. When it comes to contractors, like people's experiences are kind of rough across the board. And I feel like in this video, I'm kind of focusing on a lot of negatives, but I want to warn you with the challenges. I love this place. And for the first time in my life, I actually feel homesick when I'm not there. I miss my apartment. I miss my couch. I miss just being able to walk a few hundred feet and see the beach. I miss going on nature walks. And so it's just made me a person that really appreciates just watching a sunset. Like I'll feel so much more fulfilled and just entertained by like watching a sunset for an hour versus like watching a movie or a TV show for an hour. So it's really made me just love the outdoors. And of course the weather is amazing. And that's another reason why you don't want to be inside working all day. I know that people that have tried to basically get their Wi-Fi, if they're like on a condo right on the beach, to like have enough coverage so that they can work on the beach. And I've never tried that. I'm afraid to get sand on my computer, but that is an option. But like I said, the weather is amazing. You just want to be outside all day. You become addicted to just staring at the ocean, absorbing the sunshine. And maybe people aren't crazy like me when it comes to like that approach, but that's just how I feel about the place. All right, next thing I want to talk about is safety. All bad things that have happened to me in Puerto Rico, I would say are self-air. For example, when the spare tire was still on the back of my Jeep, that was user error because I should have had that locked up. When I had 2 scooters stolen in front of my house, that was my problem. I should have put them in a safer place and I should have also locked them up. But the only thing that isn't user error is I have gotten a lot of threats on my Instagram. So since, I make videos about Puerto Rico, I'm a massive target when it comes to this small but loud group of people that don't like people from the States moving to Puerto Rico. They think that we're destroying their island and that we're the reason for the crazy price of homes, which that actually benefits mostly Puerto Ricans because they're the ones that now have way more value in their homes. And so that is like the safety aspect, that it's probably just a lot of, like keyboard warriors that are just going crazy at me. But I hope that doesn't translate over into the real world, but I guess time will tell. Number 6 is the food. Well, a lot of things are deep fried, and I would consider myself somewhat of a foodie. I really appreciate food, you know, like I had a food truck at one point. I've always just like enjoyed food, the process of making food, enjoying a meal with people. And what I can say is this: it's really hard to find good service, and it's sometimes really hard to find good food, but not just good food, but consistent. Like I have had so many experiences where I'm like, oh yes, like I finally, you know, found a place that I like, and then I go back again and the experience was not the same. Unfortunately, there's and I think part of the problem is places are like understaffed. So the service has always suffered from the very beginning though, since I've lived in Puerto Rico. The food, the consistency is a little bit challenging. Salads don't exist in Puerto Rico for some reason. It's like so hard to just find a normal salad. And I think part of the issue is like the produce, but like finding a just normal hearty salad is really hard to find. But when it comes to like fresh fruits, that's something that I really miss from California. But like I wouldn't say that the food scene is like comparable to like San Diego, San Francisco. It's not really at that caliber, and I find myself cooking a lot at home, going to the same places that are actually just like simple places. You're not gonna find like amazing authentic Mexican food that's like, you know, anything comparable. Like I just want taco truck tacos. I just need street tacos. I can't find street tacos. Anything that's like kind of sort of close is like $5 for one tiny taco. And I'm willing to even pay to get a street taco, but I just can't find a legit street taco in Puerto Rico. So for example, like when I leave Puerto Rico, I just get really excited to come back to California and eat specific things that aren't there, or just like this different quality of food that is much more consistent. You just learn to deal with it because you're just like, you know, I really shouldn't be complaining about much. I pay 0% capital gains taxes. I live by the beach. The weather's amazing. Like, you know, everything comes at a price, right? Everything, you have to give something up when you get something else. And that's just kind of how I have looked at the situation in general. So like, I'm able to just accept it as it is. You know, I try to remind myself, accept people for who they are. I always remind myself, accept Puerto Rico for what it is. And like I said, it probably sounds like I'm hardcore bagging on Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico. I spent 300 days in Puerto Rico in 2021. So I think that kind of tells you like how I actually feel about the place. Unfortunately, like this video is, I feel like kind of coming off really negative. So cost of living, I came from the Central Valley of California, not Los Angeles, not San Francisco, not those pricing levels at all. And I would say that it is slightly more expensive for what it would cost me in the Central Valley of California to live in Puerto Rico. I would estimate my rent to be in California the same or probably even more. Gas is more in California than it is currently in Puerto Rico. Food is definitely a little bit more expensive in Puerto Rico. So that's kind of just how things are. I spend more in Puerto Rico just because there's like, I want to spend, like I want to contribute to the economy because I'm saving so much on taxes. And so there's always like things to do, right? There's just like this massive social aspect. So I definitely spend a lot more there than I would here. Well, I'm currently in California, so that's why I said here. Traffic is rough, I would say, most of the time. It's not like, you know, Los Angeles traffic or like San Francisco traffic. It's definitely like quite a few steps below that. But what I can say is this: having a 150cc scooter is like the best thing ever, because like, let's say there's 3 errands that I need to run within like a 5-mile radius of my home. It's gonna take me a third of the time on a scooter. For parking purposes, parking can also be a nightmare from time to time. Sometimes it's just easier to Uber places because parking is just a pain. But traffic is definitely sometimes an issue. One way to make traffic annoy you a lot less is to get yourself a scooter. Healthcare. So when people want to do major things, see specialists, I oftentimes see people going back to the States to get that done. Personally, like I've never gone to the doctor. I heard that you can't even make an appointment and you have to basically just show up and hope that it doesn't take you 6 hours to get out of there. So I try to avoid the doctor. My body was designed to heal myself. One day that theory of mine is going to bite me in the ass, but for now, I'm just like, I'm avoiding the doctor at all costs because I have just heard of nightmare stories. So if you're in a situation where you need an ambulance, I think you're probably better off calling an Uber. I think the Uber might get there faster. People do not move over for ambulances. It's actually really crazy. I don't understand that. I feel like I still need an explanation on that one. So let's touch on some more positive aspects of Puerto Rico. When it comes to the lifestyle, I love that Puerto Rico has slowed me down. Puerto Rico has made me appreciate the most important things in life. I used to be like so work focused and just addicted to working, and moving to Puerto Rico completely changed that for me. I'm not a workaholic like I used to be. I just love the pace of island life. It just makes you like stop and appreciate the small things and appreciate relationships over everything. And so that's why I find Puerto Rico to be such a special place. It's like this interesting vibe that like I can be in two completely different areas of the world and see similar poverty, but in Puerto Rico, it just feels like this different sense of like appreciation for life in a sense. And that like, even though these people don't have like everything, they still enjoy their life because they're surrounded by the things that are most important to them. They're surrounded by their family, their friends, their community. They live in a very beautiful place and they're so close to the ocean, and there's just so much to appreciate. So I am a completely different person since I have moved to Puerto Rico. I actually think about when I first moved there and who I am today, 4 years later, and I feel like a completely different person in the best way possible. So moving to Puerto Rico has added, shoot, am I getting emotional? It's added tremendous value to my life, and I think it's helped me just grow as a person, become a better person, just learn so much and learn so many new perspectives on life and meet really exceptional and incredible people. So I just never anticipated to feel so connected, and I'm going there in like less than a week, and I'm just really looking forward to being back home. And it's really fun and makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside to call Puerto Rico my home. I have a home there. I have a place that I look forward to. Every other place that I lived before my current place, I was kind of like embarrassed to bring people there, but for the first time, like I actually got myself a decent place. I like to just let myself enjoy nice things like in moderation. So I would definitely recommend moving there, but Puerto Rico is a different beast when you're coming with your significant other or your family. You have, you know, other things you need to figure out like schooling and things like that and raising a kid in Puerto Rico. But for me, it worked out perfectly, and the transition, the first 3 weeks were like really weird when I moved to Puerto Rico. I felt like I just sat in my apartment, I just like stared around, but I do that when I move somewhere new anyways. So the first 3 weeks were weird, but you just meet one person and then you meet everybody, and it quickly over time it starts to feel like home. But what I can say is that when I first moved there, I was always looking forward to like going back to California, and then my third year was like, whoa, this like actually feels like my home. Like I didn't want to leave Puerto Rico. I wanted to spend as much time there as possible, and that's my current state as well. Even with all the crazy COVID things, literally not being able to like leave our house on Sundays, I mean, it was pretty bad. I still love that place, and it just, when people say, do you like Puerto Rico? I'm like, I just have this instant thing, like I love Puerto Rico. So I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, and got some insight if you're thinking about moving to Puerto Rico. And if you want to get an account with iTrust Capital and get $100 free in Bitcoin, you can go ahead and check out my link down below. That's all that I have for you today as we go out there and create a portfolio that you love.